Imagine the scene of a vast prehistoric African savanna. A hominin bends down to pick up a stone. He uses that stone to smash a hard nut. That is a tool. He uses it to break bones to extract marrow. Still a tool. Then he throws it at a small animal running by. And then he holds that exact same stone, turns around, and violently strikes another hominin on the head. Freeze the frame at that exact moment. Exactly when did that stone turn into a weapon? This is exactly the core paradox of human history. Not all tools are weapons, but an object does not need to be specifically crafted to become dangerous. This creates an incredibly massive headache for archaeologists because it is highly likely that the very first human weapon disappeared without leaving any trace whatsoever to distinguish it from an ordinary tool. Why did humans invent weapons? If we only look at the biological body, humans are born as creatures with almost no capacity for self-defense. Let us compare. Lions have sharp claws and fangs. Crocodiles have giant, bone-crushing jaws. Snakes have deadly venom. Chimpanzees have incredibly muscular upper bodies and large fangs. As for humans, we have soft hands, flat nails, and tiny fangs. We are not an impressively equipped predator by nature, but in return, we have inanimate objects around us: a stone, a branch, a bone, and an ability to turn them into extensions of our own bodies. Other predatory animals are forced to carry their weapons with them from the moment they are born. As for humans, we can voluntarily pick up our weapons from the ground. However, there is a truth that will surprise you. The concept of weapon use is not even entirely exclusive to humans. In Senegal, scientists observed the Fongoli chimpanzee troop and discovered something astounding. These chimpanzees know how to break branches, sometimes use their teeth to sharpen one end, and then forcefully stab them into tree hollows to hunt a small primate. Hundreds of such hunting cases have been recorded. This behavior of modern chimpanzees proves one thing: a non-human primate can absolutely and proactively turn an object into a hunting implement. This ability might have appeared from a very distant past, so the question is, how early could the invention of weapons in the human evolutionary branch have started? In 2015, at Lemekwi, Kenya, scientists discovered stone tools dating back up to 3.3 million years. These artifacts show that our ancestors deliberately struck and fractured stones from an extremely early period. But be careful. We are never allowed to claim that humans had stone weapons 3.3 million years ago. We know for sure they were tools, but there is nothing to prove whether they were used as weapons or not. So what was the motive that caused an ordinary tool to begin evolving into a life-and-death weapon? Let us place a prehistoric human in front of a large beast. If he wants to eat its meat, the problem is not just how to kill it, but more importantly, how to kill it without dying first himself. That is exactly the fundamental advantage of weapons. Weapons help enhance the power that the body can generate, increase the distance that the body can impact. A sharp point concentrates the damaging force into a tiny area, and most importantly, it creates a life-saving, safe distance between the hunter and the prey. The evolutionary logic goes from an empty hand to a stone, to a club, to a sharpened wooden stick, and then a spear point. The human body does not need to grow longer fangs. We simply need to push the function of that fang outside of the body. Simply put, a weapon is exactly a body part that you do not have to spend thousands of evolutionary generations to grow. A sharpened branch can be an extremely effective weapon. However, wood is a material that burns easily, rots easily, gets decomposed by microorganisms, and extremely rarely survives through hundreds of thousands of years underground. Therefore, archaeological sites always favor stone tools over organic technologies. After 300,000 years, when archaeologists dig into the ground, things made of wood, leather, or fiber have completely disappeared. Only stone remains. Because of this, the oldest weapon we have found is not necessarily the very first weapon that humans ever crafted. And as technology advanced, weapons were no longer just a branch or a broken stone. They began to be assembled into a machine. At the Kathu Pan 1 site in South Africa, archaeologists analyzed pointed stones dating back to about 500,000 years ago. Based on impact fractures, shapes, and wear patterns, they concluded that these stone points could have been tied to wooden shafts to serve as spearheads. Even though there are still some debates in the scientific community, this is a massive turning point. A weapon is no longer just a sharp stone. It has become a composite weapon. One material, like stone, is used to provide sharpness. Another material, like wood, is used to provide striking range and leverage. It is a combination of many different crafting steps. By about 300,000 years ago, in Schoningen, Germany, scientists excavated a true armory. This place perfectly preserved many wooden spears, a massive thrusting spear, a throwing stick, along with countless stone tools and butchered animal bones. The prehistoric hunters here did not just pick up a random branch. They possessed an incredibly diverse collection of wooden weapons. Many spears had a perfect aerodynamic design to be thrown. Right at this moment, a weapon is no longer something just to cause pain. It has become an engineering masterpiece. And this is when a plot twist appears. When hearing the word weapon, we modern humans often immediately think of war, assassinations, or bloody battles. But the famous wooden weapons in Schoningen were found alongside hunting remains and animal bones. So, did weapons originate from hunting technology and were only later used to attack fellow humans? Actually, we cannot confirm that, because the exact same club, stone, or spear could be used to hunt prey, to defend against wild beasts, or to settle bloody conflicts between humans and humans. Archaeology finds it very hard to determine the original intent of an invention. Perhaps the very first weapon never had a single purpose. And history always has its dark sides. About 430,000 years ago, in Spain, a prehistoric skull was found. On this skull, there are two extremely similar depressed fractures, identified by the research team as two fatal blows that occurred around the time of the death of the victim. Even though there was no weapon lying next to the skull with a murder weapon sticker, this is considered the earliest evidence of lethal violence between human and human. Hunting and killing fellow humans were not necessarily two separate stories. A technology that helps humans kill an animal could absolutely be used to take the life of a human. Once humans learned how to enhance their body strength with tools, evolution had no way to restrict those tools to just one single purpose. Weapons changed something even more important than strength, which is distance. When fighting bare-handed, you must be within the reach of your opponent. With a thrusting spear, the safe distance is extended. And with a thrown spear, the human body and the damage-causing point no longer have to be in the same position. Danger was completely separated from the body creating it. Experimental studies show that hand-thrown spears could operate effectively at realistic hunting distances. Meanwhile, evidence on 120,000-year-old deer bones also shows that close-range spear thrusting tactics were still being used. Weapon evolution was not a straight line going from thrusting to throwing, then to bows and arrows. In reality, many weapon tactics always existed in parallel. The evolution of weapons rapidly outpaced biological evolution. If a carnivorous beast took tens of thousands of generations to grow a longer fang, a human only needed one generation to sharpen a spear. The grandfather crafted the stone spearhead. The father improved the tying method, and the child would learn and inherit the most perfect version. An individual did not need to evolve to grow a new arm. He just needed to learn how to use a new weapon. So, in summary, why did humans invent weapons? There was absolutely no single reason. Weapons solved a series of survival problems all at once: to approach prey more easily, to increase damaging power, to expand reach, to minimize the risk of losing life for the hunter, to defend against wild beasts, and finally, to fight against other humans themselves. Humans probably never invented weapons in one single moment. We gradually turned objects into tools, turned tools into extensions of our bodies, and turned those extensions into machines that transmit force further, stronger, and safer than any biological limit our bodies could ever reach. Other animal species evolved weapons right on their own bodies. As for us humans, we learned to craft our own weapons for ourselves, and then constantly upgraded them up to this very day.